Today we are analyzing a textbook case of vertical integration and strategic brand elimination. The death of Simba all gold tomato sauce chips. This isn't speculation. This is forensic business analysis backed by acquisition data, financial logic, and market timing. The question isn't whether PepsiCo killed all gold. The question is why the elimination was inevitable the moment they signed a 26 billion rand check. Let's establish the timeline. March 2020. PepsiCo acquires Pioneer Foods for $1.7 billion US. That's 26 billion rand in South African terms. Pioneer Foods is a major player. They manufacture breakfast cereals, fruit juices, cooking oils, and critically for this analysis, their own Wellington's tomato sauce. This acquisition fundamentally changed the economics of Simba's product portfolio. Before March 2020, every packet of all gold flavored chips Simba sold generated a royalty payment to Tiger Brands. Tiger Brands owns the all gold trademark. Simba was licensing it. That's standard practice when you use someone else's brand. But licensing costs money. Every unit sold means a percentage goes to the trademark owner. That's a direct hit to your earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Your EBITDA. In simple terms, it reduces your profit margin on every single sale. Now consider what happens when PepsiCo buys Pioneer Foods. Suddenly, their own Wellingtons. Wellingtons is also a tomato sauce brand. It competes in the same category as All Gold. And critically, it's now owned by the same parent company that owns Simba. The financial logic becomes straightforward. Why continue paying Tiger Brands royalties when you own a competing product that generates zero licensing fees? Every Wellington's chip sold keeps the entire margin in-house. Every All Gold chip sold gives a cut to a competitor. This is called vertical integration. You bring the supply chain under one roof. You eliminate external dependencies. You capture more value at each stage of production. And most importantly for shareholders, you reduce costs and increase margins. But here's the complexity. You can't simply kill a popular product overnight. All Gold had been on shelves since the 90s. It had brand equity, customer loyalty, nostalgia. A sudden discontinuation would generate negative publicity, consumer backlash, questions about corporate decision-making. So PepsiCo deployed what we are calling a managed exit strategy. August 2021, 16 months after the Pioneer Foods acquisition, Simba launches the Choose Me or Lose Me campaign. 5 chip flavors face elimination. Consumers vote to save their favorite. All Gold tomato sauce is among them. The framing is critical. This isn't presented as a business decision. It's presented as consumer democracy. The company is listening. The people will decide. The responsibility for the outcome shifts from the boardroom to the ballot box. And All Gold loses. Or more accurately, Simba announces that it lost. The vote tallies were never published. The methodology was never disclosed. The entire mechanism was controlled by the company running the campaign. But the outcome was predetermined by economic necessity. This is strategic corporate communication. Frame an inevitable business decision as a consumer choice. When the product disappears, the company can point to the vote. The backlash is diffused. The blame is distributed. The financial objective is achieved without direct accountability. Now examine what happens next. All Gold disappears from shelves in late 2021. But Wellington's chips don't immediately replace it. There's a gap. A deliberate gap. 4 years. From late 2021 to April 2025. There is no mainstream tomato sauce chip in the South African market. This is not operational delay. This is market conditioning. Think of it as a cooling off period. The longer the gap, the more the market forgets the original product. Taste memory fades. Brand associations weaken. A new generation of consumers enters the market with no reference point. During this 4-year window, something else is happening. Wellington's tomato sauce is building market presence, but the economic reality tells a different story. This is cost elimination and margin optimization. Wellington's is wholly owned by PepsiCo. Every chip sold generates profit that stays within the corporate family. No royalties, no licensing fees, complete margin capture. And here's where consumer data becomes relevant. Because while the business logic is sound from a shareholder perspective, the product experience has demonstrably changed. We are not relying on anecdotal evidence. We have documented consumer complaints filed directly with the company. One example. Juliet Jacqueline Oliver, a pensioner, self-described loyal customer. She wrote to Simba after purchasing the new tomato sauce. Her complaint is specific and measurable. Quote, upon opening the 120-gram packet, I was dismayed by the lack of flavor and color. The chips were dry and tasteless. She goes on to note that this isn't isolated to the tomato flavor. Quote, I have also purchased other flavors such as salt and vinegar, smoked beef, and Mexican chili, only to find that they too lack the robust flavors and aromas that Simba chips were once known for. This is not emotional feedback. This is quality assessment from a repeat customer. And the pattern she describes aligns with cost optimization strategies. Reduced flavoring intensity, lower coating density. These are margin improvement tactics. Less input cost per unit, higher profit per packet. For context, Juliet notes that Simba chips are a once-a-month luxury for her on a pension budget. She's paying premium pricing for what she perceives as diminished quality. This is the consumer end of the vertical integration equation. The company captures more margin. The customer receives less value.
I just walked into a place that makes roaster cooks and they dished me with a tomato sauce in here, okay? I know it looks like all gold, but it's not. It's something flippin' else, okay? Now, when we live in South Africa, why are people not using all gold? Okay, potentially maybe it's the price. Okay, fair. But that place over there was a nice farm store. Why are they not using all gold? Do we accept other tomato sauces? What other tomato sauces do you accept as a South African?
Now let's contextualize this within the broader competitive landscape. This isn't just about chips. This is a proxy war between two of South Africa's largest food conglomerates. PepsiCo, a global giant with revenues exceeding $90 billion annually, and Tiger Brands, a South African heavyweight that reported 34.4 billion rand in revenue for 2025. Tiger Brands owns All Gold. PepsiCo owns Simba and Wellingtons. Every All Gold chip that Simba sold was, effectively, PepsiCo paying tribute to a direct competitor. The Pioneer Foods acquisition gave PepsiCo the strategic asset needed to terminate that relationship. Wellingtons became the weapon to eliminate the dependency. The timing is not coincidental. 16 months from acquisition to campaign launch, 4 years from discontinuation to replacement. These are calculated intervals, legal review periods, market testing phases, brand transition strategies. This is enterprise-level planning executed over half a decade. And that choose me or lose me campaign serves as the pivot point, the mechanism that transforms a corporate cost-cutting initiative into a consumer participation narrative. It's elegant from a strategic communication perspective. The company achieves its financial objective while maintaining the appearance of customer-driven decision-making. But the consumer experience tells a different story. The original All Gold formula was owned by Tiger Brands. The flavoring, the recipe, the manufacturing process. Wellingtons is a completely different company with different supply chains and different formulations. The products are not equivalent. They cannot be equivalent. Different trademark owners mean different recipes. This matters because the market consolidation we're witnessing has real quality implications. When you eliminate licensing costs by replacing external brands with internal alternatives, you're not just changing the economics, you're changing the product. And in this case, the change appears to be toward lower input costs and higher margins rather than equivalent or improved taste profiles.
Simba tomato sauce chips are back, but this time it's known as Wellington full-flavored tomato sauce chips. As I say, it's all in the taste. We all know what Simba's texture is like. So let's taste what it tastes like. I'll give this chips a 7.8.
The broader pattern is significant. Simba controls approximately 70% of the South African savory snacks market. That's market dominance. When the dominant player eliminates external brand partnerships in favor of internal alternatives, competitive pressure decreases. The incentive to maintain quality diminishes. The Pioneer Foods acquisition pays for itself through exactly these kinds of synergies. The All Gold elimination is just one line item in a much larger integration strategy. But from a consumer perspective, it represents the erosion of product diversity and quality standards. The Wellington's chip is not all gold. It's a substitute designed to fill the gap at a better margin. Whether it delivers equivalent taste is secondary to whether it delivers superior profitability. And the 4-year gap becomes the critical strategic element. Because after 4 years, most consumers don't remember exactly what all gold tasted like. Taste memory is notoriously unreliable. Colors fade, flavors blur. What remains is the general impression of wanting a tomato chip. And when Wellington's arrives to fill that want, the comparison becomes abstract rather than precise. This is sophisticated market management. You don't replace a beloved product immediately because the comparison is too direct. You create distance. You allow time for memory to soften. And then you reintroduce what appears to be the same category of product without the expectation of identical experience. The result is exactly what we are seeing. Consumer feedback noting differences in flavor intensity and texture, but not widespread boycotts, not market rejection, just gradual acceptance of a new normal. A slightly worse product at the same or higher price point, which, from a business perspective, is margin expansion. This is not a failure of strategy. This is strategy working exactly as designed. PepsiCo acquired Pioneer Foods to achieve vertical integration. They identified All Gold as a high-cost external dependency. They executed a managed exit that shifted responsibility to consumer voting. They created a market gap to reduce comparison friction. They built Wellington's brand equity during the interim. And they launched a replacement product that captures higher margins while meeting minimum acceptable quality thresholds. The All Gold chip is dead, not because consumers didn't want it, but because PepsiCo didn't need it. And in enterprise decision-making, shareholder value trumps consumer nostalgia every time. Wellington's is the future, not because it's better, but because it's own. And ownership means margin. And margin means shareholder returns. And shareholder returns are the only metric that matters in quarterly earnings calls. The lesson here is not about betrayal. It's about inevitability. When a multinational corporation acquires a competitive asset, redundant cost centers get eliminated. All Gold was a redundant cost center the moment Wellington's entered the PepsiCo portfolio. The "choose me or lose me" campaign was just the public relations framework to manage the transition. Juliet Jacqueline Oliver's complaint won't change the trajectory. Neither will the hundreds of others noticing reduced quality, because the economics are too compelling. Every Wellington's chip sold without royalty payments is a margin improvement. Multiply that across millions of units annually, and you're talking about significant EBITDA impact. This is modern corporate consolidation, acquiring competitors, eliminating redundancies, optimizing costs, maximizing shareholder value, and if the product quality decreases slightly in the process, that's an acceptable trade-off for improved financial performance. The autopsy is complete. Cause of death: vertical integration and margin optimization. The victim: consumer choice and product quality. The beneficiary: PepsiCo shareholders and executives with performance-based compensation tied to EBITDA growth. All Gold didn't lose a vote. It lost an economic argument. And in business, economics always wins. This has been SA Autopsies, forensic analysis of the corporate decisions reshaping South African consumer markets. We'll continue documenting these consolidations as they occur, because understanding the strategy is the first step to recognizing when you're on the wrong side of it.